Hey everyone, my name is Pranav and I am a senior developer advocate here at ServiceNow and I bring you another episode of Creator Toolbox on the topic Stream Connect. So today I have a very special guest with me. His name is Anders, so I'd like to introduce him on the show. Hi Anders, how are you doing?
Hi, Pranav. I'm very good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Perfect. So Anders will be taking us through what is Stream Connect in ServiceNow. And personally speaking, I am really keen on knowing about Stream Connect because when I came from the development background, I was always confused with the Stream Connect spoke and a Stream Connect plugin. I was like, what exactly is the difference? So Anders will be taking us through that. And for those of you who don't know about Creator Toolbox is a place where we showcase new features, either ourselves or we have guests like Anders who will be coming up and showing us some of the features. So we have a lot of other episodes available on our YouTube channel, so you definitely should check our YouTube channel. And also, like we are doing this Utah content series, so there is like if you want to view another content, you should go to devling.sn/Utah. You can see all the content related to Utah. So without further ado, I'll just ask Anders to take us through Stream Connect, and the stage is all yours.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Oh, it looks like Anders just got dropped. I'm gonna give it another second for Anders to join in. Share your screen and let's jump into Stream Connect.
Let me do that. Let me share my screen again. There we go.
Yes.
So did you lose me straight away? You never heard anything I said, right?
Nope, we didn't heard anything. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. I was talking away to myself. Yeah. Anyway, let's start again. So, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Sorry about this technical little hiccup here. So my name is Anders Henriksson. I work as a product manager in the automation engine team at ServiceNow. And today we're going to look at how we can integrate ServiceNow with Kafka in two different ways. So before we jump into what we can do, I just want to spend a minute on what Kafka actually is. So Kafka is an event streaming platform that allows you to read and write streams of events. And it's available as a cloud solution or an on-premise solution. And Kafka is just really, really good at handling large number of messages and shifting between different systems. So other systems can then produce data into this Kafka environment or read from it, or both, I guess. So for ServiceNow, Kafka can act as a buffer to store data that you push and pull between external systems and the ServiceNow platform. And it generally simplifies the integrations we have. Okay, so Kafka is available in the Stream Connect is available in the ServiceNow Utah release. And we have a number of customers looking to various use cases they want to use. So the most common ones being populate the CMDB and generate and track tasks in ServiceNow. Other use cases would be around integrations between the ServiceNow instance and any external systems, and a lot of customers have already built integrations between Kafka and the ServiceNow table APIs, for example. But now Stream Connect can be used as a robust and scalable solution here. So today we're not just going to talk about Stream Connect, we're also going to go back in time to the sort of San Diego release when we released a spoke called the Confluent Kafka REST Proxy, and it's available in the ServiceNow store. So with the Confluent Kafka REST Proxy spoke, there is also an application called the ServiceNow Kafka Consumer, which you can use to read or consume data from Kafka and write it to a ServiceNow table using the robust.
I think Anders is facing some technical issue. Let me ping him again just to see where he is. Just We were actually at the very interesting slide, like about the difference between Stream Connect plugin and as well as the Spoke. Enjoy. Sometime this thing happens. Sorry about it, folks. Hey, we are back again. All
Sorry
right.
for that. Right,
No,
we're having technical problems here today, right?
no problem. You can just share your screen again.
Can you remember which slide I was on?
Yeah, you were on the slide on when you were explaining about Stream Connect plugin versus the Confluent one.
Yeah, this one here, right?
Yep.
Cool. Right. Don't know why it keeps dropping out, but try again. Cool. Are we ready to go?
You,
Okay.
yes, all good.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Just go. Okay. So what I was talking about here, right, is that we have two different ways to connect to Kafka. So if we go back in time to the ServiceNow San Diego release, we released a spoke called the Confluent REST proxy on the ServiceNow store. And we released an application called ServiceNow Kafka Consumer, which is using the spoke to read data and write data between Kafka and ServiceNow. So not too long after we released the spoke, we started working on connecting Kafka to ServiceNow to Kafka directly without using REST. And so we rolled out Kafka clusters in our data centers across the globe, and the ServiceNow instance would read and write data from those ServiceNow Kafka clusters. So then you can configure a replicator to synchronize the data between ServiceNow Kafka and your local Kafka. So if we look at an overview of what the architecture could look like, so for this spoke, you would configure your environment using Flow Designer. You trigger an action to either produce or consume data, and the action would then connect to the Confluent REST proxy. So if the REST proxy has a public IP, then you can connect directly from the instance, of course, or you can also use the mid server to sort of pick up the message and do the communication to the REST proxy for you. And then the REST proxy would either connect to the Confluent Kafka on-premise or the Confluent Kafka in the cloud, of course, then, right? And with Stream Connect solution, we don't use the spoke. There are APIs to read and write data from the ServiceNow Kafka cluster, which we call the Hermes messaging system. Customers can just then point their replicator on their side directly to the ServiceNow Kafka then, right? Or you can use Java code or any Kafka connectors, I guess, that's available out there to then get information in and out of the ServiceNow Kafka. Okay, so if we go and have a little look at the Confluent Kafka REST proxy spoke, so what features do we have? So it comes as a spoke, it has a number of actions. The two I sort of picked for this presentation was to get messages, so sort of read messages from Kafka. And so this is an example of what it would look like in a flow. The REST proxy spoke is using the connection and credential alias, and you can use various protocols, JSON, Avro, and Protobuf, of course. And very similar with on the producing side, so pushing data from ServiceNow to Kafka. Again, it's an action called publish messages, and then you configure your topic and the format of the protocol you want to write as well. Then switching to Stream Connect, so we're jumping back and forth here, as you can tell. What features do we have here? So with Stream Connect, you have access to the flow trigger. So the flow trigger, you basically, again, you decide what topic you want to listen to, I should say, right, or sort of get messages from. So every time there are messages in the topic or in the queue there, then we will be able to read those messages and then process them with the logic of a flow. So then there's sort of a low-code option to do this. And when it comes to producing using Stream Connect, then there is a producer step. So you can build your own action. So you can sort of build your simple payload with pills and drag and drop the pills in there, and again, produce to a topic. And there is also a scriptable API where you can, as you can see on the screen here, right, you basically build your payload as a message and use the sort of send function there, right, or method to send information down there. And we have a number of additional consumers as well. So for the scenarios where you want to write data to a table, so you might already have your robust transform engine configured or your transform maps configured for this data. You can reuse those so transform maps and robust transform maps to sort of switch them over to Kafka and then use those consumer transformations using the consumers. And there's also a script consumer that, for examples where you might have a payload that might not be structured, that you need to use some logic to get that data parsed, or you want to do something else, sort of enrich the data in some other way, you can use the script consumer as well. So we also have ways of sort of looking at what topics you have available, so you can sort of see the topics. For instances where there are domain separations, you can then route or sort of link certain topics to certain domains, and you do that with the sort of namespaces, which provides a prefix. So if the topic starts with a certain prefix, you can route it to a certain domain, etc. Okay, and looking at the consumers as well, we can sort of see statistics and the throughput for these consumers, so you can keep track of the performance and how much lag it might be as you generate the data, etc. into ServiceNow. Okay, I think we are ready for some hands-on demos here, I was going to say, but it's going to be live demos. So as always with live demos, they could, let's go see, let's go switch to the right screen. I'm going to jump around a little bit, so bear with me before I. Okay, so let's see if I'm going to make this screen a little smaller there. I'm going to bring in my terminal. There. And I have another little window I'm going to bring in as well. So here we go, 3 windows. So what we're looking at here, this is the Confluent environment that I've connected to. But it could be any Kafka environment. I just use Confluent because I happen to have an account there. And I have a cluster configured. I have a number of topics configured. So I can see the sort of topics here and any messages that are being produced, etc., into this environment. So, and if I jump to my terminal again, here it's a bit big, but that's good to see. So I'm logged into, I'm not logged in, I'm going to log in to my REST proxy here. Let's see, I'm just going to start the REST proxy. So I have a little cheat script there to start that up. Cool. Okay, sorry. So this is the log file. So in the log file, we can see the connections as they happen as well, right? But all we're going to do here is from the ServiceNow instance, I have a set of demo data here. I called it demo sources. This is just a table with 1,000 records in it. So that's what we're going to use. I also have another table which is empty at the moment. This is what we're going to write some message to then, right? So that's what we're going to do using Flow Designer. So I have a little flow here. You can see what I'm doing. It's just, I'm just going to manually trigger this flow. I'm not going to do anything advanced here, right? But you can see it looks at that demo source table. It takes up to 100 records. That should be enough for this demo. And then we are basically creating a payload that we published using the REST proxy message here, right? So let me just trigger this. So as the flow is triggering now, the action would sort of take that payload, push it to the REST proxy, as you can see happening there. And you can see it here. If my screen was big enough, you can also see sort of messages coming in here to Confluent, right? So that is very quickly how the REST proxy, how you would push messages from ServiceNow then right into Confluent Cloud in this case, right? But it could be any environment. So it's finished here. You can go and look at the execution details, but for the sake of time, I'm going to jump forward in my demo here. So what I can do now is I'm going to open another flow, and we're going to read some messages. So if I go into this one, so this is another topic. And just when my flows, okay, here we go. So very similar here. I have a flow that is actually runs every minute, and it will go through and check for messages in that topic, and then it do some magic in here of parsing the information as well, then right, and write it to that table. So I'm just going to activate this one. And again, not that we're looking at log files a lot, but you can see data coming through in that REST proxy as well once it activates and goes and check for messages. Can wait for this to activate.
So, Anders, quick question for you. Like right now, you're sending data to the Confluent, right, from ServiceNow
That's right.
tokens.
That was the first demo we did. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And then I now activated this flow, and this flow is just waiting for data to come into ServiceNow. So we have this table, the demo orders that I showed briefly before. It's empty at the moment. And if I go to my Confluent here and produce a message, I'm just going to take the standard message they provide here. I'm going to click produce, if it allows me to. Produce, okay, your message being processed, and for the sake, I'm just going to do another one. I'm going to change some of the values here. Do 185, and I do produce on that one as well. So I've just produced two messages to say order ID 18 and order ID 19 here, right? So you can see some magic happening behind the scenes of the REST proxy sort of checking things as we go out and ask the REST proxy if there's any new information. And you can see one of them come in, but it will sort of go around and check information every minute, go and sort of check for more information. So you might just have missed one of them, of course, right? So that is basically how we bring the information into ServiceNow. So how much time have we got, Pranav? Because I know we had some technical issues, so I just want to see how much of the other demos we can do.
I think we have another 30 minutes.
Okay, cool. Okay, perfect. Okay, there we go. That was the other one as well. So now you can see they both came in. I can sort of look at the executions here, how they run, and as you can with all the flow designers, and sort of track and see what was going on in the flow, etc. So yeah, but I'm not going to troubleshoot that. I'm going to jump into Stream Connect and show what that looks like. So hopefully that was quite clear about how to use the REST proxy, of course. So let me switch screen. Okay. So with Stream Connect, when you install that plugin, you get a little menu, so you can sort of see your topics. You can rescan those topics. You get namespaces. You get some other items here as well that we're going to talk a little bit about. So the first thing we're going to do is produce some data. So again, I'm going to use Flow Designer to start with, because I think it's the easiest way to look at this data. And then we're going to look at other ways of doing it, sort of scripting as well, of course. So my script is called Demo Producer. So again, we're in Flow Designer. We are just going to read some records from this table that we're talking about, the demo sources table. We're going to read 1,000 records, and we're going to create a payload. I'm just going to show you a little bit what does that mean, creating the payload. So in this case, I'm just using the payload builder So I take the record, I sort of just drag my pills in here, right? As in, however, whatever payload I need to create. And then I'm using that to publish my message, which you can see here as well. Right? So the message is basically the output from that demo payload there. Okay, so to show that something is going on the other side here, I'm just going to leave my REST proxy environment. And just jump down a few layers down here. So I have a connector here. I can't remember what it's called. It's called demo from. There we go. So I just have a consumer that sits and listen. So I'm now going to push from ServiceNow into Kafka. And on the other side, which is my terminal window here, I'm basically pulling those messages down from Kafka as well, right? So I might have to do that a little bit smaller so you can see. Okay, let's kick this off. So we've now taken 1,000 messages from a table in ServiceNow, and we pushing them to this this topic. And there you can see as they're coming through as well. So, and that was pretty quick. So that's using Flow Designer. If we then jump over to do the same thing from script, what's it called? I think I had a scheduled job. Let's create a bit of space there. So again, I just created a scheduled job. It just runs on demand. What it's doing here, it's basically, I go and find the name of the topic or the sys ID of the topic by name, I guess. I go and get that, fetch that. And then I read my 1,000 records as this from the same table we were reading from before. And you can see how I build my payload, and I can set my headers and keys, whatever I want to do. And then there is this API just to send the messages as well. So hopefully that is straightforward. I can just click execute now. And same thing again, it will just push all those messages out really, really quick as well. Cool. What else? Let's look at some sending data the other way. So let me see what we can do. I will open another flow, of course. Yeah, demo consumer flow, that's the one I want. Okay, so with Stream Connect, you get a new flow trigger as well. So the new trigger is called Kafka message. You select a topic, it's a drop down, so you can select the topics you have available. And then you have some advanced configuration here as well. So you can choose to start processing from the end of the queue. So you then connect to the topic. You want to start reading from the end, or would you want to start reading from the beginning of what data might be there, right? So depending on the use case here, right, you can choose that. And then you can also decide, sort of configure the number of messages to process each run. You go out and check, as in we have the configuration here called automatically optimized. So that will work out depending on your data and the flow as it runs. It will optimize the way of number of messages we will pick up then, right? But there might be use cases where you need to just pick, say, 10 messages because you're going to send them on to some other subsystem, maybe to say, well, I can only send 10 at a time for whatever reason. Then you can override this and set your own number of messages as well. Cool. So that's the flow trigger. And then in the flow itself, you can see we just use the for loop. So we now have an array of messages that we picked up. And then, of course, we do a log of that payload. We parse it again. And then we just write it to the demo orders table. So I'm on a different instance. So those records I generated before using the REST proxy, they're not here. There was a different instance, just to want to make that clear when you wonder why it's empty in there. Okay, so I can activate this one. And then I'm going to leave that. And in here, I should have a few sample demo scripts. These are nothing fancy. I'm using some Java code here to just write. I was going to see if I could find the payload here, but you can see order time, order ID, item ID. That's all I'm sending in a payload. So you will see what it looks like. But let's do this sample demo. And it's not the fastest, but here we go. You can see how it's sort of started writing a few of them. I think we start on 1 and we should do 10 of them or something like that, right? So it's not that much, but for demo purposes, that should work. So this one is activated. We can have a look at the execution, for example, if we want to have a look at that. Okay. It's live demos. You get some errors, of course. Let's see if it's. I was going to see if it clears out. It could have been that someone else pushed some data into my topic, of course. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, it's some other data. Okay.
It's saying like transform error, kind of a transform error. That means like it's not mapping to a correct field. That's
that's exactly. So the thing because the way I've set up the demos I have here is that I'm using different payloads on the same topic, so that sometimes generates some funny issues, right? But you can see when the payload is correct, which it is in this case, for example, it works fine, right? So the other payload is it can't transform that, right? But it's just because the way I'm using my topics and sharing various type of messages across the right. But hopefully now I should have some data in here at least. So you can see I got some data in here. Let's see if maybe it's still, I might just move forward, but it could be that there was like loads of data in there from earlier. Okay, it seemed to have calmed down a little bit, so that's good. Let's see if we can just run that again. See if I can make it pretty. Let's remove these guys. Okay, off it goes. Okay, so now I can see some of my messages coming through, and then it looks much nicer, right? So you never know what you're going to get when you connect to a topic. Maybe that's what we should learn from this. Okay, I'll move forward swiftly. So the next thing I wanted to show then was using the script consumer. So I'm going to leave Flow Designer behind for a little bit. So let me just deactivate this guy. Okay, right. So if I go into consumers, I have the script consumer. So similar things, you have a script consumer, you can, it will listen to a specific topic. I will show you how that works here in a bit. But again, I'll get my messages. So it follows the same as we looked at with the Flow Designer, right? You get your messages, I create my for loop to process those messages. And then in this case, I write it to demo orders, which is the table I'm using then, right? So So if you look at the bottom here, we have what we call a Kafka stream. So you connect it to a Kafka stream, and you can see it tells me which topic it is listening on, and then it's not active. So I can activate this one here. There we go. And then I have a similar script. It just starts at 21 instead of 1. So that's basically the difference. And if we look at this now, we can sort of see the subscriptions as well. So we can see the data being processed in a little while here, but wait for it to be picked up. Give it a minute. Okay, it takes a while sometimes. So you refresh a couple of times. So you can sort of, obviously we haven't been running this specific subscription, as in I just activated it. So you can see my statistics here are not very useful at the moment, but the longer they run, the more accurate they get, of course, then, right? So you can see how you get input rate, as in how much data is coming in over a 5, 1, and 24-hour period. Same thing with the sort of processing rate and the queue depth as well, right? And you can see at the bottom here, as you consume messages and the offset and other good statistics that you might want to track as well, right? And then if I look at my orders again, you can see how I now fill in with some more data in here as well, right? So that's the script consumer. Just quickly, I'm not going to do the demos for the other consumers, but I'm just going to show you what they look like, because they work exactly the same way. So we have a transform map consumer. So you configure it the same way with sort of which topic to listen to. And then I have my transform map, and the transform map could just be, as I said, the existing transform maps you have. I'm just going to go and show you what that might look like in this case. So here we are back in the good old transform maps, demo order. You can see I have my order ID. And I can run my transform maps or my scripts, etc., whatever I need to do. So that could be the same. And just to jump to the ETL consumer as well, works the same way. You configure which topic you want to listen to, and then you have your transformer here as well that would run. So hopefully that's giving you an idea of how you can use Kafka, connect Kafka to ServiceNow, either using Stream Connect or using the Spoke, of course. And hopefully that gives you an idea of what you can do with this and how to implement it in your environment.
Got it. I think and that's great. And I really loved like how simple it is using the flow designer itself, right? Like you don't have to write a lot of code or anything. You just have the flow that's there, which is just sending the data as well as you're receiving it. And also like for kind of like I think like the script consumers and other consumers will be used if you have an already existing data source that will be there, right? And then you can utilize those things. So yeah, that's great. I think like Anders, thank you very much for showing us what exactly is Stream Connect and all. And folks who are watching us, are sorry about the technical issue. This happens. It's a virtual world. A lot of times things happen. So I think that's all we have. So make sure, guys, you check out our Utah calendar. So there are a lot more other Utah content that's there on devlink.sn/Utah. And also, knowledge is coming up. So if you haven't registered, go ahead and register at knowledge.servicenow.com, and make sure you subscribe to our channel, like the video, and share with people who wants to learn about Stream Connect. That's all I have. Thank you very much, folks. We'll meet you in another episode. Thanks, Anders. Do you want to plug in anything, Anders, before we
No,
drop?
you already did knowledge. That's perfect. See you there.
See you guys. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.